strange thing about NBA YoungBoy leaving America isn't that he moved to South Korea. It's how certain he sounds about never coming back. When Funny Marco asked the 26-year-old rapper if he could ever see himself returning to the United States, YoungBoy didn't hesitate. Never in life.
Do you ever see yourself going back to the States, like moving?
Going like to the United States?
Yeah, to move?
Never in life.
Probably not. I don't know, just never. And that answer hits differently when you remember who YoungBoy is. This is a Louisiana kid who built one of the biggest rap careers of his generation without ever really looking like someone who wanted the traditional celebrity life. He became a superstar while staying unusually private, spent years dealing with legal problems, kept making music at an almost ridiculous pace, and somehow turned himself into one of the most commercially successful rappers in the world. Then, after finally getting a presidential pardon and having the freedom to move wherever he wanted, he moved halfway around the world, South Korea. And when asked why, his explanation was surprisingly simple. It was safe, it was clean, and as YoungBoy put it, it was out the way. That last part might actually tell us more than anything else. Because maybe YoungBoy isn't just looking for a new country. Maybe he's looking for a life where nobody is constantly asking him to be NBA YoungBoy. And the timing of all this makes the decision even more interesting, because this isn't happening at the beginning of his career. It's happening after he already won. He has the money, he has the records, he has the audience, he has the catalog. And earlier this year, he was being celebrated for reaching an extraordinary number of RIAA certifications, further cementing his place in hip-hop history. So why leave now? That's where this story gets a lot deeper. YoungBoy has spent most of his adult life being surrounded by things that come with fame, but have very little to do with actually making music. Legal problems, public scrutiny, internet arguments, constant attention, people analyzing every move. And eventually, when someone lives inside that environment long enough, privacy can start to feel more valuable than proximity to the spotlight. South Korea may simply be the first place where he feels he can have both: a successful music career and distance. And perhaps that's why the phrase "out the way" matters so much. Because YoungBoy didn't say he moved there for Hollywood connections. He didn't say he wanted to become a bigger celebrity. He didn't even describe some elaborate business strategy. He basically described wanting peace. And for someone who became famous so young, that might be the most revealing thing he's said in years. But there's another detail about this move that makes the timing even stranger. YoungBoy only recently got something that could have made staying in America easier: freedom. After years of legal trouble, he was eventually pardoned by President Donald Trump in May 2025. YoungBoy publicly thanked Trump for giving him the opportunity to continue building his life as a man, father, and artist. You would think that kind of moment would make somebody want to come home. Instead, YoungBoy seems to have looked at that freedom and said, "I'm leaving." And that's the part people might be missing. A pardon doesn't erase everything that happened before it. It doesn't erase the years of restrictions. It doesn't erase the headlines. It doesn't erase the feeling of constantly having your life discussed by strangers. It simply gives you another chance to decide what happens next. And YoungBoy appears to be using that chance in a very unexpected way. He's creating distance, a lot of it, thousands of miles of it. But then, almost casually, he revealed something else during the same interview that completely changes the atmosphere around this story. He talked about his health. YoungBoy said that while he was on tour, a doctor told him the left side of his heart was swollen. Instead of telling the public or stopping the tour, he said he kept performing and finished the shows. He later indicated that the area was still enlarged. And suddenly, the story isn't just about a rapper moving to Korea anymore. Because around the same time YoungBoy is talking about building a new life on the other side of the planet, he's also talking about how much music he has left in him. And his answer is, not much. 1 or 2 albums, 1 more tour, then he's done. Think about how unusual that is for someone who's only 26. Most artists at that age are talking about expanding. More tours, more albums, more collaborations, more endorsements, more cities, more visibility. YoungBoy is talking about subtraction, less touring, less movement, less exposure, and eventually perhaps less music. he isn't describing a career that's getting bigger. He's describing a career that's becoming smaller by choice. That doesn't necessarily mean he's walking away from music tomorrow. It doesn't mean retirement is guaranteed. And it certainly doesn't mean his health revelation should be interpreted as something more serious than what he actually disclosed. But it does tell us that YoungBoy seems to be thinking differently about the future. The question isn't simply, how much more can I accomplish? It sounds more like, how much of this life do I actually want? And those are two completely different questions. Because YoungBoy has already accomplished something most artists spend their entire lives chasing. He doesn't need to prove that he can become famous. He already became famous. He doesn't need to prove that he can sell records. He already did. He doesn't need to prove that people will listen. They do. So perhaps the next phase isn't about getting more. Perhaps it's about protecting what he has. And that's where his children come into the story. YoungBoy is a father of 13, and when asked what he misses about America, his answer centered on them. That might sound like the obvious contradiction to his decision. If your children are in America, why move so far away? But YoungBoy's response was almost matter of fact. That's what planes are for.
Probably the most important thing is my kids, but that's what they got planes for.
It was funny, but underneath the joke was something very real. He's separating the place from the people. America may no longer be where he wants to live, but that doesn't mean he's willing to abandon the relationships that matter to him. And honestly, that's probably the biggest misunderstanding surrounding celebrity relocation. People assume that when someone leaves, they're running away from everything. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're simply choosing what they want to keep and what they no longer want around them. YoungBoy appears to be doing exactly that. Keep the music, keep the family, keep the money, keep the freedom, lose the noise. And maybe that's why South Korea makes more sense than people initially realize. He described it as safe, clean, and out of the way. That is almost the opposite of the environment most young American rappers spend their careers trying to reach. Los Angeles, Atlanta, New York, Miami, the places where everybody wants to be seen. YoungBoy appears to be choosing somewhere where he can disappear a little. And there's something almost ironic about that, because the internet spent years turning NBA YoungBoy into an endlessly discussable character. Every relationship, every controversy, every legal development, every song, every Instagram post, everything became content. Now, the man himself seems to be saying, what if I simply leave the room? And maybe that's why the never in life answer landed so hard. It wasn't really about geography, it was about identity. For years, America was the environment in which NBA YoungBoy became NBA YoungBoy. Now he's asking whether he even needs that environment anymore, and this is where his career becomes especially fascinating, because YoungBoy has always been somewhat of an outsider within celebrity culture. He is enormously famous, but he doesn't behave like someone desperately chasing fame. He has a massive audience, but he has historically kept parts of his personal life away from it. He releases music constantly, but he rarely gives the public the kind of access that other stars turn into a business. And now he's physically removing himself from the ecosystem altogether. That's not necessarily rebellion. It could simply be exhaustion with the idea that being successful means being constantly available. There's a strange psychological trap that comes with celebrity. The more successful you become, the more people expect access to you. And eventually, the thing that made you rich can become the thing that makes privacy expensive. YoungBoy may have reached the point where he can finally afford to buy some of that privacy back. Not literally, but geographically. And perhaps that's the real luxury he's discovered. Not the cars, not the jewelry, not the houses, distance. The ability to wake up somewhere nobody expects you to be. The ability to make music without necessarily living inside the American celebrity machine. The ability to decide that the next chapter doesn't have to resemble the previous one. And if he really does have only 1 or 2 albums left, followed by one final tour, then this move could eventually be remembered differently. Not as NBA YoungBoy disappearing, but as NBA YoungBoy deliberately stepping away. Because there's a big difference between losing relevance and choosing not to chase it. YoungBoy is still young. His career isn't over, his audience isn't gone, and nothing he said guarantees that every part of this plan will remain unchanged. People change their minds, artists come home, plans evolve, but right now the message is remarkably clear. He has been given the freedom to choose where his life goes next, and he chose somewhere far away, somewhere safe, somewhere clean, somewhere out the way. Maybe America gave NBA YoungBoy the stage, maybe the internet gave him the fame, maybe the music industry gave him the opportunity, but after everything, he may have decided that what he wants most now is something none of them can give him: quiet. And for a 26-year-old artist who has already lived a lifetime in the public eye, that might be the most valuable thing he could possibly afford.